Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. A large number of our educated people seem to be under the impression that our indigenous languages do not have and probably cannot have literature of such a high order as that in the English language. They do not therefore have much love for the literature of their own languages. I believe that many of the financial difficulties which our literatures have to bear are in some measures due to this attitude of our intelligentsia, for their works do not acquire that popularity with educated classes as the works of literatures in other countries do. When I say this, I do not imply in the least that our people should have no love for literature of other languages. On the other hand, I am firmly convinced that the knowledge of English is extremely essential on account of its international importance and also on account of its having a literature of a very high order. Moreover, no person can be a successful devotee of the muse unless he has soaked himself with the literature of all ages and of many countries. In fact, without doing so, no person can be considered to be properly educated. But at the same time, I would like to emphasize that we cannot have a proper appreciation of the literature of other languages unless we have first cultivated a taste for it by studying our own literature. I am sure that by doing so, we can also free our writers to a very great extent from their financial worries. I have purposely used the expression to a very great extent because I know that their financial difficulties would not be over even then. Our present economic too system does not permit them to secure their due reward for the unending pleasure and vital exhilaration, the sweet dreams and high ideals which they provide to their innumerable readers. Under the modern system, few economic activities are carried on for the benefit of the society. Naturally, it often happens that collective welfare is sacrificed at the altar of self interest. It is therefore no surprise that publishers acquire all rights in the works of our writers and poets. The brightest jewels of her ideas are appropriated at a very low price, and the publishers make large profits while the authors lead precarious lives. I therefore feel highly satisfied to find that you have taken a constructive step to remove this injustice and exploitation. I am convinced that adoption of the method of cooperation for collective well-being, the path of Sarvodaya, is the only one by which injustice and exploitation can be entirely abolished from human society. You have adopted this method and therefore deserve our congratulations all the more. Since time immemorial, our country has held that the only way of carrying happiness and peace into the life of the group and the individual is for every individual to shape his conduct so that the lives of all other human beings are made pleasant. I believe it was for this reason that the principle of non-violence acquired such a great importance and significance in our country. The father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, by placing this ideal before us, was able to infuse new life, energy, and creative power in the people. It is my firm belief that if you remain true and loyal to this principle to creative activity and cooperative effort, you would succeed in becoming a great force in the work of reconstruction. God Almighty has given you the creative urge by virtue of which you are able to express in clear and moving words and thoughts and problems of your fellow beings. You can also inspire them with the will to action and the determination to join battle against the problems that are facing them. Today, millions of our countrymen are oppressed by frustration and misery. Our independence would have no meaning if we are unable to bring new hope to their unhappy lives. Those amongst us who are politicians have been trying to improve conditions by political means. It does not, however, lie in the power either of politicians or of engineers to awaken enthusiasm, energy, and devotion in the hearts of the people. It can be done only by poets and writers. But it is extremely necessary that literature, instead of being a song of love, should be the creative energy of the mother. It should be a means of creative activity rather than a mere object of enjoyment and pleasure. Many of our literatures made a glorious contribution to our struggle for freedom. By their works, they fired the minds of the people with the irresistible urge for freedom. Today, we need a different kind of literature, a literature which may make the people realize the need for collective endeavor. Much of the present indifference of inertia is, I believe, due to the fact that in our modern literature we do not hear the echo of that ideal. We are going to be out for quite some time because of the moratorium which has been decided on. I do not know whether it has been deliberately done or for what reason. We have again been kept out there. This is where I come to what has been said by others also, that ultimately it is our capacity to stand up and show that we have the economic strength to withstand all the pressures that matter. I know what the answers are going to be. They will say, you started it. It was all that you were doing. I am talking about whether we are going with our so-called economic reforms and our opening up process. I do want to say that this country has stood all these years on its own capacity. We are talking of 50 years of freedom. We have stood with certain grit and determination, and we have been able to withstand pressures. We were going to be an economy which is able to sustain itself when pressures come. Sir, when the cryogenic engine, the technology transfer was denied to us, there was a furore in the house. I still remember what the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao ji said. He said, they cannot beat the Indian game. They may try to browbeat us.